Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. Raid announced the February fusion today, and the February fusion is Noldua the Gloaming, a Dark Elf Force support champion, a legendary champion that can revive, that can decrease defense, get enfeeble on your enemies or weaken if they're bosses, and also makes turn meter fill effects for the enemy team less effective. So fairly versatile support champion that also gets even better if you also have Solanar the Gleaming in the same team. Solanar the Gleaming was also announced today, a Void legendary champion. So in this video I'm going to take a bit of a look at these champions and whether Noldua is worth pursuing as part of the February fusion. First, thank you Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring this video and for giving me this wonderful promo link down below in the description there in the QR code. You can start Raid with 3 free legendary champions through my link only, and alongside of those also 3 top tier epics. So you get Tholin Foulbeard after the tutorial, wonderful legendary champion who's going to be a campaign farmer, going to be your first level 60, just going to blast you through the campaign. You can use DESERTQUEEN code to get Tuhanarak, a Void legendary, so really powerful champion. And during the Assassin's Creed, as a 7-day login bonus, you get Ezio Auditore, a powerful poisoner. And then you get these top tier epics, Rector Drath, Venomage and Uugo. So Tholin and Rector Drath are going to just blast you through the campaign, and the others will help you with various encounters thereafter. Although if you start Raid right now, you won't be able to complete this fusion, but you would still be in time for the March fusion events, because March is going to be Raid's anniversary month, so there's going to be some sweet events guaranteed coming in March as well. But this February fusion, Noldua the Gloaming, a Force Dark Elf Reviver, more powerful if together with Solanar the Gleaming, new Void legendary damage dealer. Solanar is actually the stronger of these two. Solanar is really good. Raid has now lately started adding these Void legendary champions that are really strong to the game every couple of months. So people who are big spenders have really something to look forward to. They can really try to pursue those. And Solanar is no exception. Definitely worth pursuing if you're a big spender. And Noldua, well, if you're going for Solanar, you really want Noldua as well, because the two work so well as a pair. They both gain great benefits from having the other in the team. Noldua's abilities say one is a single target and feeble, or it's weakened against bosses, books only to 75%. I really don't like stuff that doesn't go to 100%. I like my things as random free as possible, but then again it is just the A1, because the A2 and A3 are the real deal. A2 with AoE buff removal and 2-turn decreased defense. Books to 100%, books to 3-turn cooldown, so just going to be such an incredible enabler to any kind of damage dealer team, because you take away all the enemy's buffs, you take away their defense, and then your damage dealer is going to come in and blast. And then A3 is a full team revive at 50% HP, 50% turn meter, and a team shield at 30% of Noldua's max HP. And whenever there's these shield effects, it's really important that they are from the shielder's max HP and not the target's, because then if the target's some kind of a weak attack champion, they don't get much of a shield. But because it's Noldua's max HP, you can give big shields for everybody. I'm not going to do a deep dive on Solanar the Gleaming, but Solanar stats were also released today, and A1 attacks all enemies. Everything is pretty much always critical if Noldua is in the same team, but of course you don't necessarily need everything to always be critical. You have crit rate ability in this game. However, there are some really sweet things with the passive if Noldua is in the team with Solanar. So Solanar is just going to blast tons of damage, steals buffs, steals turn meter, removes healing, makes healing deal damage to enemies, and it's just some pretty crazy stuff overall. But these Void legendaries typically are super powerful and really hard to get as well. But Noldua is not nearly as hard to get. Noldua is the February fusion. The fusion is going to start on Monday, February 9th, so we still have a few days before it begins. It's going to be a Fragment fusion, and Fragment fusion is the easiest type because it doesn't involve any ascending and leveling up and fusioning up multiple champions in order to get the final thing. You just complete various mini events, and then those events are going to give you fragments, and once you reach 100 fragments you will be able to summon Noldua. So very simple. Also, fragment fusions are really good because fragments do not expire. So once you have completed Noldua fusion, you have 100 fragments, you can just leave it there and then pull it during some kind of a champion chase or something, CVC that gives you points. So overall just really attractive things to do because they are easier than all the other fusion types, and then you can also save them and pull them later if you need, so you will be able to get some points. What does it take to complete a fusion? Well, most fusion events scale. Everything scales except for the ones with shards, so Champion Chase and Summon Rush, and with everything else, scaling means that newer accounts can actually do this quite a bit more easily. Well, let's talk about it in more detail. So the shard thing doesn't scale, and that's typically what prevents new accounts from completing fusions, because you want around 6 sacred shards for the Summon Rush and around 100 ancient shards for the Champion Chase. Champion Chase, although does give you points for any way you can get champions, so pulling them from fragments or fusioning champions together, everything goes, so you don't necessarily have to have shards for that one. But Summon Rush, the only points come from shards. Then there's going to be a few gear enhancement events typically in these fusions. That's going to take around 60 million silver. However, if you have a fair low level account, then it's going to be only around 30-40 million silver. So because the events scale, you can earn most of that silver during the event itself. So if you have a bit of a high level account, you want to have maybe 20 million or so to start with, and that should see you through fusion just fine. Then there's going to be a bunch of dungeon tournaments. There's going to be some Gear Hunters tournaments, which also require you to run dungeons. Sometimes you can double dip on those, preferably. And that's going to take around 14,500 energy or so. But most of that is going to be generated during the event itself. Fusion lasts for 2 weeks, so you will get most of that energy anyway. The hard part sometimes is that there's like 3 days of Gear Hunters, and then you have to be able to spend a little bit over 4,000 energy during that. So how do you manage to get all the energy during that specific time period? And that's why you sometimes want to have some saved energy or gems to buy energy with, so you'll be able to complete that. Then there's going to be some champion training events, which require some more energy, awesome brews. You can also sometimes even triple dip so that you can champion train while doing a dungeon, while doing Gear Hunters. And you need to have some playtime for the arena tournaments. Arena tournaments itself, they are really easy. You just need to have some time to log in the game and do it. And nothing else is needed because you don't have to level up or rank up any specific champions. You don't need any potions or anything like that. So that's basically what it takes to complete a fragment fusion. But even if you could, well, should you go for Noldua? There should be some really good stuff coming in March for the anniversary. There always is, including potentially a great fusion. So typically there's going to be a really good fusion. But because this fusion is a fragment fusion, so it doesn't require any potions, which means that you're not depleting your potion resources anyway for this one. So they will be saved for March regardless. Also, Raid has introduced more and more of these champion pairs lately. So Noldua and Solanar here is the latest example, and they get a lot better if you have both. So even though getting Solanar is unlikely, then grabbing one part of the pair, especially if it's relatively easy, always makes it more attractive, because then you always can think, okay, I can grab Noldua now, and if I happen to get Solanar at any time, well, then I can just combine the two and have a really powerful pair. Whereas if I skip Noldua now, then it's going to be hard to get Noldua if I happen to pick up Solanar at some point. And Fragment Fusion being the easiest type, then that should leave enough resources for March. So there are very few reasons not to go for Noldua. I do like this a lot. Noldua can be useful with any sort of other damage dealers as well, that stripping buffs from the enemies and applying decreased defense on them, and then having a damage dealer blast away after that. That is always a powerful combination, even if you don't have Solanar. So overall, I do look forward to this event, and obviously once we have the fusion calendar and we can see which events you can double dip or triple dip and which synergies there are, I will make a video of that and examine the calendar and show you where the good times are and good spots to do stuff, so that you will get the fusion done as easily as possible. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and a special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, YouTube members and Twitch subscribers who make all of these videos possible.